Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Board Game Brunch, my live Q&A that I do on the last Sunday of every month. And I did not mute myself over on YouTube, so I'm listening to myself right now, which is awkward. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend and a wonderful day, and I hope you had a wonderful March. I know March is 31 days, but it has felt extra long to me. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Dice Tower West was this month, obviously, which is a wonderful thing, but that feels like it was a really long time ago already. And it was only 3 weeks ago now. Is that right? Time is a mystery. I'm going to pop out the chat over on YouTube so I can keep up with it appropriately in hopes. I mean, it's not like the chat for my Q&A is always crazy, but oh, and guess what? I have a surprise guest on my lap. Hey, Maybe's here. Let's swing your little collar around and say hello. Everybody gets excited when the puppies show up, so I figured maybe could hang out. Maybe what board games have you been playing lately? Oh, Maybe's been playing, what's a game where you're trying to escape from something? It's like Escape the Curse of the Temple, but instead it's Escape Crystal's Backyard, because this little wily one has turned into an escape artist and has been thwarting everything we do to try and get her to stay in the backyard. We have a dog door, and the backyard is gated, but she has found multiple ways to escape. So, oh, and yeah, you spelled maybe correctly, David. So good job. It's like the character from Arrested Development. So that's the easiest way to remember it. But yeah, she's been escaping. So we're actually doing some work in our backyard right now, pouring some concrete and doing some other stuff to make sure that this little one stays safe, because it terrifies me every time she gets out. Isn't that right? Are you going to stay with me for a little while, or are you going to jump down? You can hang out if you want. You get so shy when we're on, because you don't understand the camera. If there were people here right now, she'd be very excited, but she can't see all of you. What do you want to do? Do you want to get down? You can stay up here if you want. Nope. Okay, we're going to go. I know everybody likes saying hi to the dogs. So yeah, Houdini Pooch. She is. And what's funny is most dogs, when they like get out, you know how like when you go try and pick up a dog that's running on the street and it runs away from you and you can't catch it at all? She's the opposite of that, because she loves people. And I mean, loves people so much. The reason she's getting out is because she wants to go say hi to people. And we've done all the things, like we've walked her and made sure she's getting out all of her energy and whatever else, but she just likes meeting new people so much that she's escaping the backyard so she can do that. And she gets positive reinforcement when she does it. Here, I'll show you all a picture on my phone. Our next door neighbor got her for us one of the times that she got out, and then sent us a text message saying she loves the baby. And Maybe was literally curled up next to this tiny child. And yeah, Maybe loves children, and we don't have any kids, so she doesn't get to hang out with kids that often. And it was funny, but she's getting positive reinforcement for her bad behavior. So that's not good. But we're fixing the problem, hopefully, and she won't be able to get out anymore. Please feel free to drop any questions that you may have for me in the chat. So far, we've got one question from Daniel. Do you like pure abstracts? If so, which ones? I would say the answer to that question is complicated, because there are pure abstracts that I have and do enjoy playing, but I'm almost never drawn to pure abstract games. When I was really young, not really young, when I was in middle school, that's a more definable age range, I was actually in a strategy game club at my school that went and competed against other middle schools. The club was called Strategizers, which I thought was a very cool name. Maybe it still is, I don't know. And there were 8 different games that we competed in, and I'm going to struggle to remember them all, but they were things like chess, Moncala, Nine Men's Morris. Here, you know what? Actually, I made a Facebook post about this a while back because I couldn't remember all of them. And let's see if Facebook search feature will help me find strategy games. It would help if I could spell strategy. If I look up posts from me. Yeah, see, Facebook search tool is not so horrible. So let's see. Other people help me figure out what games. Oh, backgammon was involved. Go, hex, abalone maybe. There was a bunch of games, and Nine Men's Morris was actually one of my favorites. If you've never played Nine Men's Morris, it's very simple. It's like you could literally draw it on a piece of paper. I guess I could have a window up where I could show you guys things, but you're moving pieces from dot to dot along these lines that are connected in a grid of sorts. It's not like a full-on grid, but like it has different lines and different places where they cross, and you're trying to trap your opponent's pieces or make it so that they cannot move at all. And I don't know why, but that one I always really liked. I remember everybody in the club always avoided chess only because at the tournaments, you had to play at least one game of all 8 games. But then you could play whichever games you wanted multiple times. And of the 8 games, chess is the one that took the longest. So everybody hated it because you wanted to try and play as many games as you could of the ones that you were really good at. But if chess was taking forever, then you wouldn't be able to get to the other games. So I know everyone was avoiding chess. You played it the one time that you had to, and that was pretty much it, aside from maybe a couple kids who really liked chess. But yeah, so Nine Men's Morris is good. There was an abstract game that I played, oh gosh, not too long ago, like maybe like a year or two ago. If I look at my plays on Board Game Geek, I might be able to figure out the name. It had black and red marbles, and the board was made of wood, but like it was modular. Like the pieces of the board could be arranged in different setups. And oh, Hive is a good one, and I've only played that a couple of times, but I really do like Hive. It's pretty neat. That one feels, I don't know if it's just because there's bugs on the tiles, but it feels less abstract, even though I know it is purely abstract. I don't know. Apparently, all you have to do is draw some creatures on the pieces, and somehow it makes it more interesting to me. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the one that I played a couple years ago. We're going to look up my plays on Board Game Geek. Let's see. Games that I have played. Oof, there's a lot now. I don't know if I'm scrolling, when I'm scrolling through, if I'll be able to like just pull it out. Oh, I like Blocus. That's not what I was talking about, but Blocus. I don't know how you all pronounce it. I've heard it both ways, and I have no idea what the official correct way to pronounce that is. Blocus. I think Blocus is what I'm drawn toward, but it could be Blocus. Who knows? All right, we're going to look and see. I'm scrolling through quickly, so I may actually miss it. I know it's in my list somewhere, but this one surprised me because it was a play-to-win game at a convention, and we honestly kind of just played it just because it was in the play-to-win games. And I found a lot of games that are pretty neat that way. Oh, I found it. Kulami. It's spelled Kulami. And yeah, there's little marbles that are red and black, and yeah, little holes that you're putting them into. I honestly barely even remember how it plays at this point. I only played it the one time. All I know is that when we got done, I was very surprised at how much I liked it. Of course, not surprised enough to buy it, because that's the thing for me with abstract games. Even if they're fun, I prefer games that have a theme. I really do. They're more interesting. They're more engaging. It's easier to talk somebody into it. Like if you're introducing a new game to someone and the pitch is, oh my gosh, we're all these epic warriors who are going into battle with ghosts and zombies and like crazy things. I mean, that's hyperbole, obviously, but that at least, oh man, that might get somebody's attention. If you're like, so we put these red and black marbles into these wooden divots. Ugh, I'm asleep now. And Sterling apparently does not like those either because he has something to say. Hey, Sterling, do you want to quit barking? He's downstairs and he's mad about something. Probably the neighbor dogs, if I had to guess. So yeah, the answer is, while I enjoy playing abstract games occasionally, it is not a genre of games that I gravitate toward. And whoa, my desk is shaking. That is crazy. Probably because I was swinging my feet. So, okay, let's see here. Does a playtime of 2 hours or more turn you away from a game? I think I'm going to answer every question today with yes and no, because so far that's true. yes and no is the answer to your question, because it depends on a whole lot of factors for me. Am I playing on a weeknight where I have to work the next day? Do I already know the game, or does it have to be taught to me? Does the theme interest me in any particular way? There's a whole lot of things at play there. If somebody came up to me on a Saturday that I'm playing games and I don't necessarily have anything planned for right now and said, do you want to play Battlestar Galactica? Yes, absolutely yes. Do we have the people? Are we getting into it right now? Yes, go. Battlestar Galactica takes more than 2 hours, but I'm almost always willing to play, assuming I have the time. Same thing for something like Runebound. Runebound also takes more than 2 hours, but it's one of my favorite games. I love it. Even though the majority of games that I play tend to be an hour or less, the games that I tend to love the most happen to be longer ones. So a playtime of 2+ hours does not turn me off, but only if I'm interested in the game. There are some really heavy, crunchy Euro games that take more than 2 hours, and those I shy away from entirely. Like, I the last time I played Power Grid was in 2007, and I haven't played it since. And I've considered coming back to it to see if modern day Crystal would like it, but it's long, and I'm worried that I'll hop in and all of a sudden realize that I still don't like it, and I'll have wasted all that time. And time is a pretty precious commodity. I'm busy, so I don't want to waste time. And I also don't want to make a game session like worse for other people. I'm obviously polite enough that if I'm not enjoying a game, I can usually muddle through, but I'm one of those people that wears my emotions on my face and can't hide them well, which is weird because I used to play poker. You think that I would be better at that. Maybe this is why I wasn't that good of a poker player, probably. But yeah, like, so if I'm playing a long game and I'm not having a good time, most people will be able to tell. And I think that when you see someone you're playing a game with isn't having a good time, it lessens your experience, or it can lessen your experience. And I don't want to do that for other people. I want the people who enjoy the game to enjoy the game, and I don't want to make it worse for them. I'd be curious to know if any of you, like if that's happened to you before, where somebody in a game you were playing was having a bad time and it lessened the experience for you. And even if it's my friends and they know me well and they're not going to be mad about it after the fact, like that doesn't make it better for me, you know? And I also don't want to just step out of a game, especially if it changes the game state for other players. Also, it's hard to leave a game mid-game. Like really hard. No matter how much I'm not enjoying a thing, because I tend to be a polite person and I believe in good etiquette as a human being, it feels like once you start something, you're in it and you shouldn't get up unless there's an emergency, basically. I did get up from a couple of games in the past, but you know, those were extenuating circumstances and other things. So we've got a lot more chat since I looked at it. Let's see here. Nine Mins Morris, even though it's solved, is still a great fun and quick fun. Yes, Nine Mins Morris is fun. I didn't actually know that it was solved, although that doesn't surprise me. And I don't know perfect moves in that game, and I imagine most people don't as well. So, Kabuki Kid asks, have you checked out any new shows recently? What have you been watching? I'm trying to think if I've checked out any new shows. I don't think I have. I've been rewatching some stuff, and I've been watching new seasons of things. Oh, so new to me, a lot of you are probably already way into this, but I finally started watching The Great British Bake Off. Is that the name? There's 2 British cooking competition shows. The really good one that's on Netflix. I started watching that finally after tons of people told me how good it is. It's amazing. Also, why, if any of you are in the UK, please tell me how we can get America on board with your style of reality show. Although I imagine not all of your reality shows are like this, but I have never watched a reality competition show where the contestants were so darn nice to each other. Literally, like in America on competition shows, all of the people are mean to each other and rude to each other and trying to sabotage each other, and it's horrible. And on The Great British Bake Off, like one person will be done with their cake or whatever, and somebody else will be struggling to get done in time, and like 3 people will rush over to help them finish before time runs out. And it is the most lovely thing in the whole wide world. And I love it so much. I just wish all reality TV were that nice, because then I would watch more of it. I don't watch a lot of reality or competition-based TV. I used to watch Iron Chef America specifically, normally back in the day. When I was much younger, I used to watch Big Brother here in the States, but that was like literally probably 14 years ago. We're talking around like mid 2000s for sure. I don't remember when it started, but I know when I was in college, I watched Big Brother because I was off from school in the summer times when it was airing, and I had all the time in the world. And here's a fun fact. I actually subscribed to the 24-hour feed in the Big Brother house back in the mid 2000s for one summer, and was able to watch the cameras 24/7. And I know that is ridiculous, and it was the best thing. It was fascinating because they edit out like all of the like fun stuff, and they edit together things to make them change the story when you see stuff on TV, and seeing behind the scenes was actually kind of neat. So other new shows I've watched. Have I watched anything else that's new? There have been a few that I wanted to check out. This is probably a month or 2 ago now, but when Russian Doll came out on Netflix, I watched that, and it was amazing. Like, so good. And Natasha Lyonne is just mind-blowingly amazing in that show. If you have not watched Russian Doll on Netflix, go check that out for sure. And of course, I've been watching Star Trek Discovery, not new, but we are now 10 episodes into the 14-episode season 2, and it is awesome. I am actually having a tiny competition on my personal Twitter account at Crystal Pisano. I'm giving away a $25 gift card to CBS All Access to a person that hasn't watched Discovery yet. There's some rules that I made up for if you want to enter, but go to my personal Twitter account if you want to see the details for that, if you haven't watched Discovery, because it is just getting better and better, and I really want to share the show with someone who hasn't watched it yet. So if that is you, go check that out. Not board game related, but you know I can't go a video without talking about Star Trek at some point. It's pretty much just a given for now. Kabuki Kid was talking about the pronunciations for Blocus, Blockus. Always hears both pronunciations too. I don't think I've ever heard a consensus on how to say Blockus. We should, who designed that game? We should contact the designer and see what they intended. Mixtour is great, but hard to find cheap. I'm going to assume Mixtour is abstract based on our prior conversation. Sorry, I know that like when I jump back to the chat, it kind of breaks the stream of consciousness that I have going on. Especially if the chat just jumps down to the bottom like that. Oh, Vegas Quake. Yeah, I was literally just shaking my feet, and it caused my whole desk to shake because it's on carpet, and therefore everything is kind of connected. Epic Games for the win. Yes, definitely Epic Games for the win. Roy, you have 6 players. Do you try and do 2 groups of 3 and hope they end around the same time, or do you have a go-to with 6? Power Grid, I will only play with 6, says Daniel. We kind of waver back and forth on this one, at least in my particular game group. I think most of the time we break into groups, either 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. But honestly, it depends what games everyone has brought to game night. Because we'll generally, for the most part, try and keep the group together. I think that's our first inclination. Just because splitting apart always seems awkward for some reason. Even if we all know each other and have played games with each other before, somehow we're bad at splitting up sometimes. I don't know if that's normal. But just for instance, on Thursday, we had 7 people total. That's kind of an awkward number. We could break into 4 and 3, but Greg was like, well, I have a game that'll accommodate 7, and he pulled out Just One, which you all know I love. And so I was like, just one. So we played 2 games of Just One together and had a ball. And one of the coolest clues that came up was I was the person that was guessing, and so there were 6 people, but I only got 4 clues total from the people who were giving out clues. And I'll read them to you right now. I posted this online, so if those of you already saw this on the Board Game Blitz accounts elsewhere, don't spoil it. But the 4 clues I saw were eyeliner, dark, cathedral, and font. F-O-N-T, font. And I sat there and I stared at them for like probably a good 30 seconds. And the font clue was actually really helpful for me. I work in marketing. I'm pretty familiar with font names. And I was like digging in my brain. I was like, I know I can come up with what this is. And I literally was just like staring intensely at the clues. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds in case you're trying to come up with it on your own so I don't spoil it. But then I literally was just like, went from intense to Gothic! And I got it. I was very excited. Everyone else thought I wasn't going to get it. Fun fact, I have a sneeze stuck in my nose right now. Don't know if I'm actually going to sneeze or not, but I'm going to pull out a tissue just in case. Oh, allergies have been crazy. Probably because it's springtime, or probably because my allergies are bad all year long. Kabuki Kid says, if you have 6 players, play Dune. Easy answer. I'm excited that Dune is getting reprinted. I've only played Rex. I've never played the original Dune. I've played Rex twice. And I'm curious to see if there are going to be differences, because I believe that there are some pretty, not huge differences, but there are differences between the original Dune and Rex is printed by a different company than the company that's printing the reprint of Dune. So I don't know if it's going to be similar to Rex in the way that I know or different, but I'm excited about it. Everybody talks about Dune very lovingly. So, let's see. Have I played any new roll and writes? That is a good question. I think I've talked about most of the roll and writes that I've played recently. I got that order from Germany that had blocks and 21 and Doppelt So Clever, which I've been playing a lot of Doppelt on the app, just like I did with Gons Shown Clever when it first came out, and still. But I really like Doppelt, and I like playing it both solo on the app and in person with people. Of course, that's how in person works. Oh, Jinzo says they have the flu. That does suck. I'm sorry. Did you get your flu shot? I mean, I know you can still get the flu if you get your flu shot, but everybody should get their flu shot. It helps people who can't get shots stay well. I'm in a high-risk group because of my asthma, so I have to get the flu shot. And actually, I think I'm supposed to get the pneumonia shot as well, but I haven't done that. So apparently I'm preaching to the choir here to myself. I should make sure I do all the things. What kind of music do I listen to? That is a really good question. I'm pretty diverse in my music tastes. I think the one genre of music that I almost never listen to is country. Other than that, I'll listen to just about anything. I mean, on my phone currently in my playlists, I have everything from like mode step, which is, what genre is that? Like where the bass drops. I'm a bad music fan, like really intense electronic music. I like rock. I like pop. I like soft rock. I like indie music. I like R&B, metal, and not so much generally. Like really, really hard, heavy stuff, screamy stuff, less so. And I am a huge, huge fan of music from the 80s and the 90s. Huge. Love it so much. 80s music. And I mean, I was born in the 80s, so I feel like that's probably why I have a deep connection to the 80s. Hall & Oates was #1 on the Billboard charts the day I was born. And what's funny is you could, even if you didn't know my birthday, that won't help you figure it out, because Hall & Oates was #1 on the charts a lot in the 80s. I would tell you my birthday. I don't care, but it's just funny to say it like that. But yeah, I'll listen to anything. And I'm trying to kind of keep up with music like nowadays. My problem is I don't listen to the radio much anymore because I've gotten into podcasts. And so I download podcasts onto my phone and then have that playing while I'm in the car through my Bluetooth. So I don't ever listen to the radio. So I don't hear new stuff when it comes out as much. But I'm trying to stay current. I really love Ariana Grande a lot. What was the other band that had a big hit not too long ago? I don't know if they're doing anything else. Portugal the Man. They came out with a song that I really loved. And also Portugal the Man, fun fact, friends with Weird Al Yankovic. I did not know that when I fell in love with their song, but once I found out that they were friends with Weird Al, I was like, oh, then I really, really like them. So let's see. What else do we have? Is there an IP that you would love to see in a game? Yes, definitely. I think it's funny because some of the things that were near the top of my list are actually happening now. Homestar Runner was one of those. And now Trogdor, the board game, is coming out. I did back it on Kickstarter, although I'm pretty sure that game is not going to be great. I mean, I shouldn't judge a chicken before it has arrived at my doorstep. Chicken hatched, I don't know. But based on what I've seen of the gameplay, honestly, it looks pretty like fine. But I'm going to get a whole bunch of little Homestar Runner meeples and figurines, and that alone makes it kind of worthwhile. So, and honestly, I like supporting the people who made Homestar Runner because that was a really big deal to me back in the day. I loved Homestar Runner. I mean, when new Strong Bad Emails came out, I was on my computer ready to watch them. Like as soon as they were released, whenever new content came out on that website, I loved it to death. Fun fact, someone in the board game community, who some of you may be familiar with, Rafael Cordero, who is one of the hosts of Ding and Dent, which is a cool podcast that you guys should listen to. Raph actually had an email answered by Strong Bad back in the day. I'm now, of course, I'm not going to remember which email it is, but if you search, I don't know, for Strong Bad emails and look for one that was signed by Raphael, that is Rafael Cordero in the board game community. He's a superstar. As soon as he told me this, I was just like mind blown because I always wanted to get an email answered by Strong Bad. And I'm very jealous that Raph had one. Other IPs that I would really love to see a board game of, I actually would love to see the Hannibal TV show turned into a board game. And I know that that will probably never happen because not enough people watched that show. It did run for 3 seasons. It is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It is amazing. If you haven't watched it, find it on a streaming service and watch it. It's very dark, but if you enjoy the novels or the original movies that came out in the 80s and 90s about those novels, like definitely check it out because they took the stories from those books and they told the same story but in a different way, and they kind of twisted different plot points up in a very interesting way. So I would love to see a Hannibal board game, but I recognize that that material is very dark and very adult and it's very niche, so that's never going to happen. I'm trying to think if there are any other IPs that I've written down on my list. I have a list of ideas that I want to design if nobody else does. Let's see here. If I could find. Zork, the text-based adventure series. I want to see a Zork board game. And I've said before that I actually think it would have made a good Time Stories module, like a licensed Time Stories module. But now that Time Stories is switching formats to the new format, I don't know if that would still work. I considered doing that myself, but designing for Time Stories is tough, really tough. Anyone who does the fan scenarios for Time Stories, more power to you, because that is hard to do. Let's see. Do I have anything else that is IP based on my list? I desperately want a Rocky Horror Picture Show asymmetric game. So something kind of like Vast or Root, where, you know, every single player or group has completely different powers and completely different objectives. So you would have Dr. Frankenfurter would have like a certain objective, and you would have Brad and Janet as a team, then they would have a specific objective, and you would have Dr. Scott maybe as a character. He would have his own objective, and everybody would have to converge and I don't know how it would work exactly, but I think it would be amazing. Also very niche and will probably never happen. All of my ideas are the most ridiculous, but I would desperately love to see a Rocky Horror Picture Show themed board game. Let's see. I think that's it for like IP games, at least ones that I've kind of written down. No. I'd written down Black and White, the old computer game where you're a god that's like controlling things. Although I kind of think Spirit Island is almost like that, like Black and White, the board game, to some degree. I don't know. It's not exactly the same because in Black and White, you were a god and you had a creature that could go around in the physical world and do things for you, either good or bad. And then you tried to win the favor of the people that were on the land. That that computer game was very, very fun. And I loved it so much. I bet you that one's on GOG. GOG? Do you pronounce like GOG.com? Is that what you say? I don't know. That website where you can download old computer games to your newer computer. Let's see here. I'm also going to drink some coffee. Oh, so good. All right, here. Oh, somebody from the UK did chime up earlier when I was asking about reality shows there. And of course, my chat just jumped. It's purely a cultural thing, but it is changing. We have that meanness in shows too, but we're generally a lot more reserved here in the UK emotionally, so don't do the shouting and screaming as much. Well, that makes me happy, David, because I don't like the shouting and screaming and the meanness that exists in a lot of American reality TV. So Brandt asked earlier, have you played Fleet, the dice game yet? I am on a quest to get everyone to play it this year so it can win a Dice Tower award next year. I have not played Fleet, the dice game yet, and I've heard good things. So maybe if you're going to be at Dice Tower Con in July, maybe you can teach it to me. I'd be willing. I mean, I like dice games a lot, even though the nautical theme is not my favorite. If it's a dice game, generally I'll try it anyway. Oh, Netters showed up probably a billion years ago. Hi, Netters. Let's see. Love, Death, and Robots is a fun new show on Netflix. Tiny animated shorts. Oh, interesting. Okay. Netflix, I'm like simultaneously mad and happy because they keep coming out with amazing stuff, but I don't have time for all of it. So I'm like, Netflix, just chill out for a few. Let me get caught up on good television. But then I'm also like, yeah, no, keep making good television. So I don't know. Daniel says, I watched the first episode of Discovery and was underwhelmed. I hope it gets better. Well, I obviously am not representative of everyone, but it seems like the general consensus is that it most certainly has. And I will say that for me personally, I love the show, and the first 2 episodes are 2 of my least favorite in the entire run of the show so far. So take that for what you will. If you can I would say, if you can watch through episode 3, like get to episode 3, watch that. If it hasn't improved at all, then maybe it's not for you. But truthfully, season 2, like I liked season 1 a lot, and season 2 has been exponentially better, which is crazy. I can't even, it's so good. So good. Very, very heightened emotions in season 2 and lots of stuff going on. And I'm so sorry that my camera keeps shaking. My desk is very wobbly today. So I apologize for that. Let's see here. Oh, Daniel followed up with, I know it was the pilot, but they sure packed in a ship full of exposition. Yeah, they do not do that in every episode. So let's see. Kabuki says, I love Just One as well. My group has fallen in love with it. Okay, and Dan's watching Discovery, first 5 episodes. Very cool. Oh, Netters says she played Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig with 6 players. I am curious about that game. So is it more like Mad King Ludwig, or is it more like Between Two Cities? Because I like Mad King Ludwig, and I do not like Between Two Cities. I think this one is closer to Between Two Cities, right? So I don't know if I would like that one or not. I'd definitely be willing to try it, but The original designers are involved in the reprint of Dune. Maybe it will have tweaks. Nothing has been said yet. Okay, cool. Fleet Dice is better than Fleet Card Game. I mean, that's often the case, I think, right? I think with most games that have a card and dice version of them, I think the dice game usually wins, at least for me. How many hours per day do you guys at Dice Tower play board games each day? So unfortunately, I am not the right person to ask that because while I am on the Dice Tower's video team, I am not located in Florida. So I don't actually know how many hours a day they spend playing board games. I know a lot of their time is spent making board game content. So they play games because they need to and because they enjoy it. But I think those guys down in Florida work really, really hard. I mean, you've seen how many videos this channel churns out every single week, and it takes a lot of work to do that. So I don't know if Roy is still in the chat. He might be able to answer you, or maybe he already did, and I just haven't seen his answer yet. But they're doing a lot of work down there. But yeah, for me personally, board games are not my job, so I don't spend a lot of hours playing board games. For me, I have a board game meetup that I run every Thursday evening. So when I get off work, I go to that and I play games usually for anywhere between like 2 to 4 hours, depending on the night. And then sometimes I also play games on Saturday evenings with a smaller group of friends. We actually just last weekend, not yesterday, but last week, we played Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea on Saturday. And that was awesome because I hadn't gotten to play it in a long time. Roy taught it to me at Dice Tower Con back in July, and he kept bringing it to conventions and playing it with everybody. And I just never had the right opportunity to sit down and play it with him again. So I was really glad my friends wanted to play it. And I told them I want to play it a lot more because there's so many factions and I want to play a bunch of them. Let's see here. Dubstep. That is... Yes, earlier, the genre of music that I could not think of was dubstep. Thank you, Joseph. I know this is forever later, but Jordan asks, are you guys going on the cruise again next year? I don't know what you mean by guys as in plural, if that means me and my husband or me and Ambi. I'm not sure, but I personally am planning on going on the cruise again. I'm very much looking forward to it. It was a really fun time, and I'm excited to see more Dice Tower fans there. I think they're increasing the numbers. I don't remember. I'm not Jason. Don't take what I say at face value because I don't know the details. But let's see here. Studies have shown that your music tastes tend to crystallize around 30 and don't change much after that. Oh, that's interesting to note. Okay. Well, then I guess I'm going to like 80s music forever. Netters asks, which podcasts do you listen to that are not board game related? That is a really good question. And I'll admit, I don't have a lot of time for non-board game podcasts, mostly because since I make a podcast, Board Game Blitz, if you aren't listening, you should, comes out every 2 weeks, and it's only 30 minutes long, so it's really easy to fit into your schedule. Also, our 3-year anniversary of Blitz, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Our 3-year anniversary is coming up in in less than 2 months now, and we have something really cool planned for it. Ambi is specifically working on something that is super awesome, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So we always do something fun for our anniversaries, and this one is going to be one of our best, I think. So if you aren't listening to Blitz yet, you should be. But other podcasts that I listen to that are not board game related. Sorry, I keep sidetracking myself. So I try to listen to as many board game podcasts as I can, not just because I like board games, but because I want to support the people who are making board game content. And I want them to know that their work is valued, and I want to interact with them about the content that they're making. Admittedly, there are not enough hours in the day for all of the amazing content that is getting made right now, which is a wonderful problem to have. That being said, there are podcasts that I listen to that are not related to board games. Things that I listen to at least semi-regularly include Stuff You Should Know, which a lot of you have probably heard of. It's one of the most popular podcasts. And they literally just do deep dives into topics. Let's see, available episodes recently. They've done things like an episode on the Etch-a-Sketch. how disgust works, the great stink, a stench so bad that they gave it a name, bed bugs, wildfires, dyslexia. Like they just take random items or topics and do a deep dive on them. And it's really fascinating. And I think it's helping increase my knowledge level about just random things in the universe, which I like to do. I love, this one is definitely probably not very well known. It's called Large Marge Sent Us, which fans of 80s movies will recognize that, or 90s? I don't know. The Pee Wee Herman movie that came out, there's a character that yells, "Tell him Large Marge sent ya," in that movie, and that's where the name of their podcast came from. But it's two sisters who go back to movies that they watched when they were kids from like the 80s and 90s and rewatch them and review them and talk about them. And I love it. It's great. Let's see here. Other shows. I love The Illusionist, spelled ALLUSI. Oh God. SIONIST. I need to do that thing that the spelling kids do and like write the letters in the air. But that doesn't surprise anybody because it's about etymology, and I have an etymology segment on my own podcast. I actually reached out to Helen Zaltzman, the host of that show, before I started Board Game Blitz, and asked for her advice about doing etymology in a podcast. And she messaged me back and provided some very lovely advice. So that was super nice of her. I love the Better Call Saul Insider podcast. If you watch Better Call Saul and you're not listening to the podcast, you should be, because they provide a lot of cool behind the scenes information, especially about the writing process. Similarly, The Good Place, the podcast, also great. I really like podcasts with the creators of television shows about the shows that they're creating. Those are always great. I listened to the Breaking Bad podcast back when it was on, and then the Better Call Saul podcast, obviously, is the same people. But Better Call Saul is coming back soon, I think. It better be. They have so long between seasons. It drives me crazy. And then I just recently finally got into Ologies, which tackles different ologies. I don't even know is ologies a word? Did they make it up? But like, so they, and they actually just recently did an episode on ludology, which is the study of games. And that one was fascinating. They talked mostly about video games, but they touched on board games as well. And they interviewed Jane McGonigal, who is really famous for her work and study of games. So if you haven't listened to Ologies, definitely go check out the ludology episode. It was from March 12th. Right before that, they did an etymology episode on ologies with Helen Zaltzman from The Illusionist. So that's kind of what got me finally to check out Ologies, and it's really nice. I'm trying to think if there's any other big ones. That's pretty much it, I think, for the most part. Occasionally, I'll pick up another, like the Hamilcast is really good. Mortified podcast, also really good. Oh, and I just started listening to The Well, which is Anson Mount's podcast. Anson Mount plays Captain Christopher Pike on Star Trek Discovery right now. And he does a really cool podcast as well. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, y'all. Too many. Way too many. Let's see here. If you like the 80s, there's a fun podcast I like that isn't board game related. It's a movie podcast called The 80s All Over. They cover every month of the 80s and the movie releases. Oh, that is interesting. And I bet they cover movies that we've probably forgotten about or have kind of slipped through the cracks over the years, not just the big popular ones. So I would actually be curious to try that out. Not that I have time for more podcasts, but so much stuff to cover. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Homestar Runner is another Roy and Crystal timeline crossover. Yeah, Roy and I have realized very early on in our online friendship that we are very similar people in a lot of ways. And we have a lot of similar likes and dislikes. So it was pretty cool when we met for the first time, because I think the first Dice Tower Con that he and I hung out, I kind of just followed him around, and any game that he hopped into, I was like, I'm interested in that as well, just because I knew that if he liked it, there was a good chance I would like it. I'm sure he probably was annoyed with me by the end of that convention because I was just following him around. Kabuki says, still holding out for a Buckaroo Banzai board game. Let's see here. Oh, the chat jumped again. I don't know why it does that. Here we go, back down. They made a Big Trouble in Little China game. I've seen some people playing that one. I actually had not seen Big Trouble in Little China ever until about 2 years ago. And it's one of my friend's favorite movies. Like my friend Harley, who's in my game group, it's his favorite movie of all time. And they did one of those things where, you know how like movie theaters show older movies in the theater. So we went and saw it in a theater. And I knew that it was like a cult hit and it was silly and weird, but I went in with tempered expectations because sometimes movies like that, you kind of need the nostalgia factor to really love them. Not at all. This movie was so good. All of the camp was just perfect and I just loved it. I loved it. And so I haven't played the board game yet, but I kind of want to. Wait, Thomas Harris has a new book coming out in May? Wait, what? How do I not know this? Thomas Harris is the person who wrote the books that The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, all that stuff is based on. How did I not know he has a new book coming out? Probably because I'm too busy listening to podcasts, obviously. Well, thank you for that information, Tom. I'm going to look that up as soon as I get done with this stream. I want to know about that. Somebody else agreed with my Zork board game idea. Gator Dave says, I would love a Deep Space Nine game, but I have no idea about mechanics. I mean, Deep Space Nine would make for a really cool game, especially like specifically aspects of the Dominion War, I think would be really cool. And I know that Fleet Captains has an expansion that has the Dominion as a faction, but I don't think it really touches on much other than just like the battle aspect. So... Bram said, yes, he will teach me and Roy and others at Dice Tower Con Fleet, the dice game. So hooray. Be warned that Love, Death, and Robots is definitely not for kids, definitely rated R. Well, that's fine. I have no kids and my dogs don't care. So Love, Death, and Robots. I'm going to have to keep that on my list. Someone wants to see a game come from The Last Airbender. I've never seen Last Airbender, like the original show or the movie that people say doesn't exist because it's not good, all of that. I don't know any of it. And I've heard good things, but Spirit Island is Kabuki's new pandemic. Somebody said Farscape for a IP. Ooh, Quantum Leap module for Time Stories. I mean, when we first played Time Stories, I literally turned to my game group and I was like, we're playing Quantum Leap? Like that's basically what Time Stories is. You're jumping into other people's bodies and trying to solve a problem so you can jump back out again, pretty much. Except in Quantum Leap, he's stuck until he fixes the thing. And in Time Stories, you jump back and forth. But it is basically Quantum Leap, the board game. So I don't know, how would you make it more Quantum Leap? Because the thing he's trying to solve every week in that show is different. So it kind of feels like it already is, right? I don't know. It's been a long time since I watched Quantum Leap, admittedly, but I watched it a lot when I was a kid. Let's see here. Back to my earlier question, Netters answered me about Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. It's more like Between Two Cities, so I might not like it, but the rooms are all like Mad King, which can be funny. Okay, that's kind of what I assumed, so I don't know if it would be for me or not. David asks, how has my experience with gaming changed since joining the Dice Tower? I don't know that it has. I think the biggest change for me personally has been just like my level of enjoyment and excitement at getting to interact with fans of the Dice Tower directly. I know that Tom specifically, he doesn't want to be making all of the content that's on the Dice Tower. He wants lots of other people to be making content there. And that's why people like me and Ambi are brought on, because if he doesn't bring on new people, he'll just be making 8,000 videos every day till forever. And the response from fans of the Dice Tower when I was added to the team were really, really kind and positive. And just getting to interact with people and hear from them that the things that I'm doing in board game content mean something to them and matter to them, that has kind of made me feel like what I'm doing is important. And I mean, I know it is, but hearing it from other people really makes it real, I guess. So as far as how I play board games, nothing much has really changed for me. I think if I had been a person who was playing older games more often, I would probably have gravitated toward newer games. But I'm kind of already that person. If a new game comes out, I want to try it. I want to play it right now. If it just came in the mail, this is what I want to play today. So in that regard, and playing new games is great because then I have content to talk about on Dice Tower Tonight with Eric, or here on my Q&A, or anywhere else that I'm doing content. And I would really like to start doing video reviews of board games. But I've been very nervous to start doing that. So I know that there are a lot of people making reviews, not just on the Dice Tower, but everywhere online. And I want my reviews to add something unique or special. But of course, then I realize like my opinion in and of itself is unique. So, and there might be people who just care what I think about games. So I would like to start doing video reviews at some point. Maybe you all can help push me to finally doing that. My problem, honestly, is just time. I've been very, very busy the past few months at my regular job. And it has been mentally taxing. While I do sit at a computer all day, I tend to be very mentally drained at the end of a day and at the end of my work week. So while I do come home and make a lot of content on the weekends already because of the podcast and this kind of stuff, expending more energy to do more is tough for me. I need to sometimes take a break, and I don't have a lot of time to do that. So if I add more things, it makes it more difficult to do. So I want to do more. I always want to do more. At some point, do I want board games to be a full-time job for me? Maybe. I make decent money doing what I do. I'm a marketing copywriter and I love to write. I love being creative. Making board game content is also a creative outlet. So in theory, I think that it could replace that. But I think for anybody who goes from a traditional 8-to-5 type job to a non-traditional job like making content on the internet for YouTube or Twitch or wherever, that's a scary leap to make. And I don't think I'm there yet. Nor do I have an offer from someone to do that. I would actually have to have someone offering me money to make that a possibility. But for now, I'm happy to do it mostly unpaid and just because I love it. I honestly don't even remember what the original question you asked was at this point. I'm just talking into my camera, so we can stop. Let's see. Crystal, when were you first introduced to or found out about the Dice Tower? I don't think I know. I got introduced to hobby gaming, like modern board games as they kind of exist today, formally in 2007. I've always played board games like my whole life. But I think 2007, when my friend Ben invited me to game night at his house in Kansas City, that is when I got formally introduced to board games. I then moved to Las Vegas from Kansas City in 2008. I was very sad to leave Ben and my group there because we were playing games once a week and I loved it. And when I moved to Vegas, I was paycheck to paycheck for the most part for the first few years that I was here. It did not help that the recession hit basically exactly at the time that I moved to Vegas. And of course I was 20, how old was I? 23. And had to prove that I could do it on my own. I didn't want to come crawling back to mom and dad's house in the Midwest. So I was struggling hard for a while. But obviously buying my own board game collection was not something I could do at that point. So, and I also didn't have a lot of friends in Vegas yet since I was new to town. And I didn't know about meetup.com. I didn't even think to look for board gamers on Facebook. So I kind of just didn't play board games much for the first few years I lived in Vegas. And then once I met my now husband and we got a house, I had a little bit more income to work with. I started buying my own games, started building a collection, then found a group on Meetup. But I don't remember when the Dice Tower came into it for me. Truthfully, I don't know when I started watching their videos on YouTube. I just don't know. Somebody probably mentioned it to me at some point in all of that. I've definitely been watching the Dice Tower and listening to the podcast for years, but I don't know how long. So that was a very long-winded way of answering your question that I could have just said, I don't know to and moved on. Have you all noticed that I like to talk? Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Jordan earlier met me and Rob on the cruise this year. I'm definitely going. I don't know if Rob wants to go again next year or not. He's definitely welcome to if he wants to. But yeah. Oh, you were his partner during the game show. That's cool. I'll tell him you say hello. Oh, Justin was here or is here. Restoration Games. Hi, Justin. I'm just still, every time I see Restoration Games, I'm just going to like send Omega Virus vibes into the universe. I know it's a thing that's on your list. I know you're trying. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I just have to send those vibes into the universe to make the Omega Virus happen. Oh, I actually just got something in the mail recently that I should show you all, but it's downstairs. I'd have to go run and get it. I bought a game on eBay called Battle Dome. Hold on. I'll show you all a picture of it because you all have to see this thing. It's like giant 4-player pinball board game. I am so like, it's a thing. Let's see, images. Oh, apparently there was a Battle Dome. There's a lot of things called Battle Dome that are not. Okay, so here's the image. Let me see if I can, that's blurry. Is it gonna clean up? I don't know if it's gonna clean up or not. That is a very blurry image. I don't know if I can find a better one. I want to show you all this thing though. I mean, I guess in theory, if you're on a computer, you can Google it yourself. If I type in Battle Dome board game, I might get better results. I want to show you all what this looks like. Sterling wants to show you all what it looks like too. He's woofing over there. That one's small. Everything is either blurry or small, basically. Oh, there's a picture of the box. That's not bad. Let's see here if I make this. Okay, let's screen share that so you all can see it. Nope, not settings. I want to do screen sharing, this screen share. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's now, admittedly, I don't think it's to scale with the kids. It's not that big, but it's pretty big. And it's literally like 4-player, you've got these pinball flippers in front of you and these little marbles. And then there's all these, like there's a bell and these little spinny things. And it's got a twist up motor in it. Like the top thing there, that yellow thing, it's one of those things that you, like a timer in categories where you twist it and then it runs for a certain amount of time. Does that make sense? I think most people have played categories, so you know what that is. But I haven't played it yet. I just got it in the mail not too long ago. So speaking of Restoration Games, that one looks pretty fun, and I'm excited to try it out. Let's see. What does my husband think of the new Magic set coming out where every pack has a Planeswalker inside? I don't know. I haven't asked him. I could holler down. Hold on. Hey, Rob.
Yes.
What do you think of the new Magic set that's coming out that has a Planeswalker in every pack?
I think the early cards they've spoiled so far look...
He thinks the early cards that they've spoiled so far look pretty good. So there's your answer. Thanks, Rob. Oh, let's see here. And I know I'm getting close to my theoretical end time, but nobody is going to, cut off my feed or anything, so I can do whatever I want. I'm so far behind, possibly, on the chat. Let's see here. People were talking about Ludology podcast with Jeff Engelstein. Definitely wonderful. Love it. Ludology is one of the podcasts nominated for Best Podcast over on Board Game Geek. There are other podcasts nominated, like mine, for instance. But honestly, Ludology is a really, really wonderful podcast. Jeff and Gil do a great job with it. And I'm very excited once Jeff steps away to see Emma come in and host with Gil. I think that's going to be a really good continuation of that show. We've only just had Better Call Saul season 4. Wait, did a new season come out recently? Did I miss a season of Better Call Saul? I might have missed a season. Did I miss a season? Oh my gosh. I'll have to look. Zork board game. Have you all seen Parsley by Jared Sorensen? I've heard of that. I've heard of Parsley games. To make time stories more quantum leap, simply say, oh boy, every time you start a new adventure. Yep, that's how you do it. Oh my gosh. David says, you're a great addition to the Dice Tower. You should definitely give reviews a go. Thank you, David. I want to. I actually have a really cool plan for how I would do them. But it's all ideas, and it's getting those ideas executed takes time. And if y'all can find some more hours in the day and throw them my way, that would be awesome. I would love to do it. Have I read any interesting books recently? No, I haven't. It's because of time. All of it's because of time. Do I like Nothing Personal? I have never played Nothing Personal before. I haven't specifically avoided it. It's just never really formally crossed my path. So I haven't played it. Restoration Games. Justin says, message received, Battle Dome. In case you thought the Fireball Island box was too small. That's very true. The box is huge. Hold on. Do you guys want to see it? Do you want to I will take 60 seconds. I'm going to run downstairs. You're going to watch a blank stream for about 30 seconds. Okay, ready? Go. I'm running downstairs. I'll be back in a minute. It makes a lot of noise. Okay, hold on. Oh my. Let's see here. Gotta pick the headphones back up. Oh no, everything is shaking. Oh man. The headphones back on with one hand. Okay, so here is the box for Battle Dome. Oh my gosh. It is large. Yeah, here's my face next to it. It's at least 2 crystal heads tall. And then you can hear all the marbles rolling around in there. Yeah, that's Battle Dome. I'm excited to try it. Oh man. Ugh. It's not that heavy, it's just large. Oh my gosh. So there you go. Sorry for the 30 seconds of nothing, but I wanted to show you all. Otter says, love your live streams with a heart. Thank you, Otter, so much. I appreciate it. Heart for you. I love doing these live streams. It's really fun for me. You'd think talking to no one would be boring. I mean, I know I'm not talking to no one, but having no one talk back, except for in the chat, I don't know. I love it. Probably because I do love to talk in general. Oh my goodness. Have I played Mars Open Tabletop Golf? I haven't, and I would like to. I like dexterity games a lot, so I want to play that one. What is my favorite 4X game? That is a tough question to answer right now because it was Star Trek Ascendancy, and I don't know if it is anymore. I've only played Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea twice, but I think it's my favorite. It's hard to say. I don't know. But I love Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, and I want to play it more. But after only having played it twice, it's hard to say it's my favorite. Oh, yeah. The Muzak for when I was running downstairs. Perfect. The Battle Dome box is as big as the Hate box, maybe. Yeah, probably. Is that straw stainless steel? It is. You all have heard me rant about straws before on my show. Basically, having access to straws is important for people with disabilities. So plastic straws should not be fully gotten rid of. But if you are a person who is able, or if you like using straws at home, like I do, consider buying reusable straws because it's a good thing. Even a tiny bit, I know that like the amount of plastic a single person uses in their lifetime in regard to straws is probably pretty small. But if everybody does it, those differences can add up. It's important. So, what game do I own that has the biggest box? Is it Battle Dome? I don't know. It's hard to compare. Fireball Island probably is up there. Mechs versus Minions also up there. Bonk and Clask both have very large boxes. Yeah, Yeah, I think those are probably all of my largest games. Sin says, my hubby and I played Star Trek Fleet Captains for the first time the other day and love it. I've only played it once, but I really enjoyed it. It's I still prefer Ascendancy, I think, to Fleet Captains as far as Star Trek games go, but I really liked Fleet Captains a lot. I wish that I had gotten to play with the Dominion expansion. I imagine it's hard to get. But yeah. Well, it looks like we've kind of run out of questions, and I'm about 5 minutes over my normal time anyway. So I will go ahead and end the stream. Thank you all so much for joining me here for Board Game Brunch, my monthly live Q&A. I do this Q&A every month on the last Sunday of the month at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. GMT. So even if you're across the pond, you should be able to join me live for this every month. I really appreciate you all joining me, asking me questions, and hanging out with me. And until next time, everyone, have fun gaming. We'll see you later.